of now. I'm sure more will join in the next couple of minutes, but we'll get started. So good evening, all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special episode of LUB monthly meeting. And this is happening in form of interview with our special guest from London, UK, who is my very good friend, Mr. Simon Crowe. I don't know if there are members who are outside LUB, so just for them, let me tell you very quickly, Laghu Udyog Bharati is a nationwide organization of micro, small and medium scale enterprises. LUB has 250 branches, and as we heard Mandar and Nachiket, it started in Pune. So this program is under the responsibility of Pune region. And Simon, I think you already got to know the important members of LUB Pune. So thank you all for joining us for about an hour with interaction with Simon. My name is Atul Bapat. Probably I know most of you, some of you may not know me, so let me introduce myself quickly. I'm an executive coach, leadership facilitator and management consultant. After working for 25 years with global brands such as Mercedes-Benz, Bosch and Escape, I set up CATS Academy, India in 2008. We have customers in about 10 different industries across India and overseas. As we are all aware, COVID-19 has hit entire globe, particularly since March 2020. Most of us have seen lockdown in most parts of the world, including India and UK. And as business owners of MSME, that is medium and small scale medium enterprises, most of us are struggling to survive. Forget about growth. We are now struggling even to survive. We are experiencing recession, financial loss, reduced cash flows, low employee morale, and so on. Most importantly, I think we are in the state of uncertainty. None would actually know when things would normalize, although we can fairly predict what is called as new normal. And these situations are beyond our control. While we can't improve economy, increase consumption, or achieve usual sales turnover, what is surely in our hands is how we respond to the situation. And for the next hour or so, I will be chatting with Mr. Simon Crowe from London, UK. Let us welcome Simon. Since all of us are muted except me and Simon, I would like that instead of round of applause, let us show him thumbs up or welcome Simon in chat box. Can we do that quickly? Welcome, Simon.
Thank you, Atul.
Lovely, because Indians are known for hospitality, right?
Yes, no, I know that.
And whether we have limitations of virtual platform or whatever,
yeah,
we would still like to welcome you very
you.
fondly.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, yes. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. So as we discuss with Simon on the topic of managing anxiety for entrepreneurs, I'm sure we will gain powerful insights and some practical tips. Simon, I'm promising on your behalf, which should help us to ease out our situation in terms of reduced anxiety, fear, and stress, right? We will have last couple of minutes for open question and answer. I'm here as a host and I will be interviewing Simon. We know each other for nearly a decade now, right, Simon? Both of us, there are many common things within us. Both of us are executive coaches, both of us are leadership trainers. And the best part is, I did my certification from Digital Coaching System Australia. Even Simon did. Of course, Simon is ahead of me. He has taken many more certifications perhaps. But we have certification from same company and even leadership accreditation we got from Worldview Consulting South Africa, right? Here I must say that Simon has a cute daughter and I can never forget her name. Ask me why. Can you put in chat box why? I want to make it interactive. Ask me why, then I'm going to tell you. Okay, Vaibhav is saying why. So her name is India. Not Indian name. Her name is India. Right? So I'm sure even you cannot forget, right? Even all of you will not forget Simon's daughter's name.
That's right. They may forget my name, but they won't ever forget my daughter's name.
So welcome, Simon, once again to this unique community of the owners of micro, small, and medium scale enterprises. Let me take this opportunity to introduce Simon formally. And as I know Simon, he is a phenomenal executive coach and highly skilled leadership trainer or leadership facilitator. We work together for leadership training and coaching training assignments in India. He has completed his master's. I should not make this one, so I'll let us read out from here. While introducing, I don't want to make any mistakes.
Yes, don't want to be misrepresented.
So no, so he has completed his master's in media technology for teaching adults, where he secured distinction. He is a certified master coach from Behavioral Coaching Institute. He comes with extensive experience in public and private sectors. He is quite comfortable working across diverse cultures. He has delivered programs in Europe, Africa, South America, USA, Singapore, and of course, India. So big thanks to Simon. After a long time, we have an opportunity to do something together. And I'm very happy about that. I would also like to thank particularly Nachiket Phadke and Mandar from LUB. Nachiket has been a big supporter of this session, which is happening today. So when, just for information of to other members, I was just chatting very casually with Simon a couple of weeks back. And then he was telling me that he's working on this. So I just bounced this idea to Nachiket, and Nachiket fully supported this. And that's why we are together, all of us, right? So thanks, Nachiket. Before we get into interview, I would just quickly like to run two polls. Two questions I'm going to ask all of you. Nachiket, if you can make me host, probably I can do that.
No, I will help you out. Don't worry.
Okay, then you help me out. So
yeah.
Let us have these two polls.
Guys, first poll is out. You have to answer the questions. Okay, just one question per poll. Here you go. Okay, so we are 42 members here. You can just, wow, good. Quick numbers. 50% have voted. Yep, go ahead. Yes. Unfortunately, I cannot vote being a host, but it's still okay. Great. Yes, so it's a good poll. I am going to end it and let's publish. So here you go with the results. Can you see that, guys?
Okay.
It's visible, right?
So 2 to 10 employees, 44%. 10 to 50 employees, 37%. 50 plus, 15%.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you. Can we launch the second poll, please?
Yes, sure.
So Simon, you get an idea about the demographics, diversity, which is present in this webinar, right?
Okay, so I'm launching second poll, guys. Be ready, quick. So we'll beat our previous timing of giving answers.
I don't know the answer to that one.
Simon, this is in Indian rupees, by the way.
Yes, I can't answer that one.
Yeah. 2 CR is how much? 20 million? 20 million Indian rupees, right?
Oh, okay, not pounds.
Not pounds, yeah. Guys, be quick. We are 45 members and 39 of you have voted. So those who are not yet voted, just please vote. Quick, 30 seconds, 10 seconds remaining. Yep, okay, I'm ending this. And here you go.
So majority below 2 crores, then next to that 2 to 5 crore, 31%, 5 to 10 crore, 10%, and 10 plus 18%.
Yes. Yep. Okay, I'm stopping the poll sharing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Nachiket. Thanks for the help.
See you then. Yep.
So let's start our interview, Simon. I was just trying to understand the dictionary definition of anxiety, and what I learned that it is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease with something with an uncertain outcome, right? And I believe the key word associated with anxiety is uncertainty. Anxiety and uncertainty, they go hand in hand. All of us in India or other parts of the world, including UK, we have experienced prolonged lockdown, probably for the first time in our lives. Not only in our lives, probably even probably generation before us. Even they say that something for the first time they're seeing in their lives as well. There is so much of uncertainty in terms of when the pandemic is actually going to end and when we are going to have normal life once again. Nobody knows that, right? And there are serious issues about survival, as I mentioned, the very existence of businesses that we are engaged into. There are no revenue streams, but only expenses. Many of you will agree that we are not able to pay probably full salaries. Some of us would have laid off some employees or paying part of the salary. So there is a huge internal turmoil that each entrepreneur is experiencing today. And that obviously creates anxiety and stress. I would like to ask you, Simon, because you have studied this topic probably in depth. I'm sure that you would have faced such situations, may not be of this magnitude, but you would have faced similar situations in your life where you actually face such anxiety.
Yes.
Tell us about your experiences, how you handled these particular situations, and what is the learning from that?
Sure, of course. Well, I mean, over the course of our conversation, I'm sure we'll delve into that into more detail. But what I do want to say is I really understand the situation which is happening. Like, I understand that across the world, we're in unprecedented circumstances. And I don't want to diminish how difficult it is for people to run businesses in these times. However, I'm going to make my conversation with you today, Atul, about what we can control, not what is outside of our control.
Right.
I can't change the pandemic. I can't change the government response to it. I can't make business easier. But you talked about uncertainty. And what I want us to talk about in our conversation is how we can make the uncertain more certain.
Oh, lovely.
To me, that's one of the keys of managing anxiety. So you asked me a question a little bit about my own experience. Now, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not professionally trained in dealing with chronic anxiety. However, I've been coaching now since 2006, and I have studied the brain and neuroscience and, you know, many different aspects around stress and anxiety. But what I think really qualifies me to have this conversation with you today, Atul, is my own personal experience.
Yes.
So as I said, I've been in business now for nearly 15 years. And in that time, well, let me say before I started my own coaching and training business, I used to work in the public sector. Now, the public sector has two features. One, it's very stable, certainly in the UK, and it's very constraining. So you get the stability, but it also comes with a great deal of constraint.
Right.
And my natural values are around adventure and curiosity and exploration and discovery. And so for me, the environment didn't really fit. But when I started to work in my own business, I didn't really have any business background. I'd never worked in corporate. I'd never really developed any of the entrepreneurial skills. And so on day one, I was faced with just a big blank piece of paper. So if you want to talk about uncertainty, I experienced almost total uncertainty. All I knew was that I wanted to be a coach. All I knew was that I wanted to help people to live more effective and happy and joyful lives. I didn't know that I would eventually end up working in some global organizations. I didn't know that I would start to have an impact on thousands of people's lives. I didn't know I would be coming to Pune and working with you out there. These are all things which were in my future that I couldn't possibly have predicted. And for the first few years, I lived in a state of almost perpetual anxiety until I discovered, and this is what I hope we're going to cover today, until I discovered that I can only control the things that I control. And if I focus on the things that I have a direct influence over, then I can change my experience with anxiety. So when I think about some of the struggles and the opportunities that we face in our businesses, I think of it like a target. So 3 concentric circles. The first circle in the center, I have a letter C, which stands for control.
Okay.
The next ring outside of that, if you can imagine, has a letter I, which is influence.
Okay.
And then the final circle has an A in it, and that stands for accept. There are certain things in business and in the environment in which we create our businesses that we cannot influence. And so we have to accept them. And many people waste a lot of time and energy, and it's very stressful to focus energy in trying to change the things that we cannot change.
Absolutely.
So right now, I can do nothing about the British government's response to the pandemic. I can do nothing about the world or global economy. I can do nothing about the fact that businesses are closing around me. So I have to accept that. And I have a practice around acceptance. But the thing where I can make an impact, and this is the really important, I think, thing for us as entrepreneurs, is to focus on controlling the things I can control and influencing the things I can influence and letting go of the things that I have to accept. And, you know, to me, it's absolutely fundamental. You talked about uncertainty. Why? Well, I know why we do it, but wasting time trying to change the things that we can't change just creates a sense of uncertainty and frustration and stress. So how can we just be with the things that we have to be with? You know, in this country, we often complain about the weather. You know, we get a lot of rain in London, and people complain about the weather. You know? There's nothing you can do about that. So what you have to do is think of, well, what can I control here? What can I influence? And the things that we can control, the things that we have direct control over, is our focus, so where we put our attention, our thoughts, the things that we allow ourselves to think. And, you know, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. The decisions that we make, we can control, and the actions that we take. So I'll just say those 4 things again. There's the focus, so where we put our attention, the thoughts we allow ourselves to have, the decisions that we make, and the actions that we take. So as an entrepreneur, if I put my attention on those 4 things, I am now working in the area of the things that I can control. And that is how I, if you like, create more certainty in my life and business.
Lovely. In fact, that reminds me of a very nice quote, which I'm sure all of us know. God, give me strength to change things which I can, right? God, give me patience to face things which I can't change, right? And give me wisdom to differentiate between these two. I
Yes.
think you're talking something similar.
Yeah, I love the fact that you quoted that, because I can never remember that quote, but I think it's fantastic. So thank you for.
So when you are explaining, I just, it just reminded me.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
So can you
So-
explain, like you have mentioned, control, focus, decision, action, maybe other things, C, I, and A, you said, influence
Yes,
and acceptance, right?
yes.
Can you tell a little bit about I and A as well?
Okay, so influence. So there are certain meetings that I may have with potential clients. There may be opportunities within the market. There may be people that I manage. I can't control those things, but what I can make sure I do is I have a lot of knowledge and skills so that when I'm influencing, I'm maximizing my potential to influence the situations in which I find myself. In a simple example might be, I remember a little while ago, two people, me and another coach, were put forward to work in a corporate coaching job. And there were two people in the company that needed coaching, and two of us were put forward as potential coaches. We had chemistry meetings with these two people. And at the end of the two meetings, both of them chose to work with me, and neither of them chose to work with the other person. So we had a conversation about that afterwards, me and the other coach. And he said, I don't understand. How did you get the work where I didn't get it? And I said, well, what did you notice about these two directors of this company? And he said, well, they were always arguing. And I said, yes. And I said, what do you think the potential impact on their business of that is? And he said, well, the business is going to fail unless they learn to communicate differently. And I said, yes, I noticed that too. And I said, but the difference between you and me is I told them, you just thought it.
Wonderful.
So, I was able, if you like, to influence the situation by being bold, by taking a risk, perhaps, by saying something to somebody who needed to hear it. They may not have wanted to hear it, but it was certainly, information they needed to hear. And so by being bold and courageous and deciding that this is how I was going to show up in this particular meeting, I was able to secure two pieces of work and this other person. And it's not about who's better and who's worse. I'm not talking in those terms, but the other person didn't get any work. Well, that was something that I was able to influence by making sure that I had good skills and knowledge, but also I was willing to be bold, to take the risk, to say something that no one else would say. And they're the things, again, that I can control. I can control, we talked about my behaviors, my actions. So that's how I influenced that situation. And then acceptance. Well, this is I guess, almost a lifelong practice, learning to let go of the things that we can't change. And certainly for me, I spend a lot, we'll talk a little bit more about this in a few minutes, but I spend a lot of time thinking about my thoughts and noticing my thoughts. So I spend a lot of time in daily meditation, and I know you do too, Atul. We've talked about this in the past. Well, only by understanding my thoughts and recognizing what thoughts are, and recognizing the thoughts that serve me and the thoughts that don't serve me, and letting go of the things that that don't serve me, then what I'm doing is I'm accepting the things that I can't change. I'm not fighting. They say that I think it was Byron Katie said, if you fight the world, you only lose every time. And I think that's really worth remembering. There are certain things you can't battles that you can't win. So don't have them. And so for me, understanding that my thoughts are not real, they're not the truth, they're just my thoughts, they're just a perspective, and I can choose the perspective that I have, then I'm able to minimize the impact they have on me in terms of my stress and anxiety.
Absolutely, absolutely. Lovely. I think your examples are pretty clear, and I'm sure it brings out the topic that you are trying to describe. Okay, I have a next question, Simon. According to you, what really triggers anxiety.
Mm.
What are the main causes? And
Yes.
my another question is, which is added question, is it possible to identify these causes in advance?
Yes. Great. So if I don't answer the second part, remind me of it, because sometimes I'm just focusing on the thing that I can control for now. And then, and then if you can remind me in a few moments. So the things that cause stress and anxiety, there are environmental factors. So the things that are happening in our environment, and right now what's happening in our environment and politically and economically, it's stressful. It's beyond our control. But I think, for example, if we work too hard, that causes stress and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our body needs to recover, our mind needs to recover. So learning to trigger the relaxation response is fundamental. And it goes against what people feel intuitively. We feel when we're in anxiety or under stress, we have to work harder, we have to work harder, we have to do more, we do more. Well, to me, that's what creates the anxiety. Having too much to do, not having enough time, having too many deadlines, taking on too much work. One of my clients that I was speaking to yesterday, they had a job which would potentially have earned their company £270,000, and they didn't have the time to put together an effective project management plan, because they were too busy with so many other opportunities for work. So they weren't strategic. So what they were doing is, because people were saying, we need a quote, we need a quote, we need you to talk to us about work, they were being distracted from the things that could really have made a big difference to their business. I don't think it was fatal. I think they were able to recover, but that was very stressful. They only have a certain number of people. Many people are on furlough, which means they're not currently allowed to work in order to receive money from the government in the UK. So they're working with limited resources, but they weren't being strategic. They weren't thinking about what's the best way to deploy our resources. And that's because they're too busy. Having creative and strategic thoughts, as we are as the head of our business, takes time, it takes space. We need to relax the brain. And if we're in a constant state of stress, we can't have our creative thoughts. So for me, a really important tip is relax. Take time away from your business. Go out into nature. Spend time with the family. Do some exercise. Absolutely. I exercise every day. Even I've been in lockdown for nearly 3 or 4 months. I've done at least 20 minutes exercise every single day. And it's so easy with YouTube and stuff. I just find some fit looking person who takes me through a 20-minute exercise routine. I get all sweaty in my living room, go and have a shower, and I'm back to work. It's really easy. There's no excuse for that.
So we have to make the right choice, correct? We have
absolutely. And this is what we're talking about, the decisions that we're making. We have to understand that the answer to being overworked and being stressful is not to stress ourselves more. That can never be the answer. What we need to do is to change how we're responding to the environment. So cutting down on the work, giving ourselves some time and space, even if it feels really difficult and counterintuitive. Making sure that we exercise, that we sleep properly, that we're having good nutrition, we're spending time with our family. We are breathing. How often do we forget to breathe? You know, if everybody listening now just took one deep breath,
yeah,
the physiology just changes. So do that periodically. Breathe, change the oxygen in your lungs, get rid of the CO2. These things are so simple and absolutely fundamental. And I think because they're so simple, often people forget to do them.
Yeah.
So the causes of stress are the opposite of the things that we've just talked about. So it's too much thinking about the things that we can't control. It's working too hard, not taking time away from the business, not giving ourselves time and space to think strategically, not exercising, not looking after our physical self. So not sleeping, not drinking enough water, It's really important. You drink lots of water. The brain is, I don't know, 70% water. If you don't drink water, your brain shrivels and it can't do its job. So drinking water, again, is really important. So these are all things that we can control directly. And
Somebody asked me a very good question. We had asked participants to give us questions in advance. So one question which somebody asked me, I remember, how do you measure anxiety? Are there any symptoms? Can we say now we are moving into zone of anxiety?
That's a really good point. So let's distinguish between fear, which is a response to a stimulus. And if, for example, we have a presentation to make, or I have to come on and talk to you and hundreds of people I've never met, it can create fear in me. But after the event, so I don't know, maybe I've done my presentation or I've done my sales meeting. After the event, my body should return to a relaxed state. If it doesn't return to a relaxed state and my sense of fear, that heightened anxiety and fear is maintained, that's a suggestion that I'm now moving into stress and anxiety. If this lasts for weeks and months, which it can do, and I certainly have experienced anxiety for several months, it's absolutely, it destroys you. It destroys you physically, and it destroys you emotionally and mentally. So I would say the way to check in is, how long have I been feeling like this? And what's the reason? What's the direct response which has triggered this? And if that response has now finished, has my body returned to a state of reasonable calm?
Yeah.
And I think that people are asking the difference between fear, stress and anxiety. I think, again, fear is something which is almost like a physical threat or a psychological threat. Stress is when we put ourselves under prolonged stress in a work environment. So we continue to face many deadlines and lots of overwork, and that sort of sense of stress, of always thinking about work and always being involved in work, that can cause stress. Anxiety, I think the actual definition of anxiety is that's when it becomes chronic. And that's almost, that needs to be treated almost medically by seeing a psychotherapist or maybe taking some antidepressants or something, because you have to manage the physiology. And that's not simply just a question of having a rest and some meditation. I think that's when it's...
Using the word chronic, Simon, so will it mean that it might lead to depression after some time?
Yes, I think absolutely. I think that anxiety and depression, because certainly in my experience, when I've suffered from anxiety and I'm in chronic anxiety, what it brings on a lot of shame and a lot of self-questioning, a lot of self-doubt, and that's a downward spiral.
Guilt, right?
And it can absolutely lead to depression. So I think it's really important that you notice that this is something which has been going on for quite some time. And you may notice that your business isn't thriving, or your relationships aren't thriving, or you're not feeling very good about yourselves. Then I think it's really, really important, and I've certainly done this, is reach out to a therapist, reach out to somebody who is professionally trained in helping you to understand some of the psychological triggers from your past that are contributing. So this is different from stress. This is, I think that chronic anxiety and stress are quite different. Stress is something we almost self-inflict. I know that's probably not a perfect description, but anxiety is something often which is related to some childhood trauma or something.
So thanks, Simon, for a very elaborate answer on this particular topic. Let me ask you another question. Mm-hmm. As an entrepreneur, we are always role modeling. Mm-hmm. We are role modeling for our employees, our teams. Mm. Now, as an entrepreneur, if I am going through this anxiety, I'm under stress, I'm fearful, obviously it is going to impact my team. And what happens in professional life can also happen in personal life. Mm-hmm. It can also impact my family members. Mm-hmm. Right? So totally. Can you share from your experience any best practices?
Yes.
Where we can probably turn anxiety into tranquility. Mm. I'm considering anxiety at this end, maybe tranquility at the other end. So if you have to really make this shift, what are the best practices according to you?
Yeah, I think this is really, really important. It's a very important point that we raise. So when we're talking about controlling our focus our thoughts, our decisions, and our actions. The way that we do that is we have to become or develop a habit around doing that. So the difference between people who are successful in managing their anxiety and their stress are people who habituate, which make a habit repeatedly, so it's a daily practice, the things that we're talking about. So I'll give you a specific example, and this is how I live my life, whether there's stress outside or not stress. I spend at least 20 minutes every day breathing. So I lie on the floor, head on a pillow, and I breathe. And I do a lot of breath holding, and I have a lot of pranayama and all these sort of things that I practice. But I practice breathing because it calms my physical and emotional state. So I do that every single day. I told you I do 20 minutes of exercise every single day. I do 20 minutes of journaling every single day. And I journal around gratitude, because gratitude is a really fantastic attitude to have. If you can find things to be grateful for, the brain starts to think that the world is a better place than perhaps the one you're experiencing. So again, that's a really, really important thing to do. I spend time visioning every day. So I think, what's my vision? What is it I want to create? What do I want to experience in my business? What are some great ideas about how I might do that? So I use the power of my subconscious mind also. I ask it difficult questions and expect that I might get a different answer from the one that if I just keep doing what I've always done.
Right.
I have a cold shower every day. And people think, well, why do you do that? Well, to me, it's really good, again, for my nervous system. It's like a reset button on my nervous system. But also what I'm doing is I'm teaching my nervous system who is the rider of this particular horse. And I mean by that, I don't want to stand under cold water, but I've taught myself that if I decide I want to do something, then I will do it. And if I stand under cold water for 2.5 minutes, then I'm showing my nervous system and my brain, the part of me that wants to resist that actually I've decided to do this, so we're going to do that. And it's a really good practice, isn't it? If we can train ourselves to follow through on the decisions that we make. So that's another thing that I do. I have a support group, which I've created for myself. So I make sure, and this is a really, this is a fantastic community here, but maybe there's somebody within the group that you can reach out to on a regular basis. And I have a WhatsApp group with my peers, and we speak daily, and we just have a little check-in on how things are, and how's it going, and what things are you struggling with at the moment, and maybe recommending some resources. So that's really important. Coaching is absolutely fundamental in here, because this is about thinking differently. Breathing and yoga, absolutely. These are all things which are so important. I haven't been doing yoga since the lockdown, but I have been doing my daily physical exercise. Breathing, visualization, gratitude, making sure that I drink lots of water. So these are things that I do every day. So when I wake up, and I often do this, Atul, I wake up in a state of anxiety. It's just part of my, I don't know, when I wake up, that's how I feel often. So I spend the first hour of my day choosing how I want to feel and think for that day. And I do these practices to get myself into the mindset and emotional state, which I think I can then create the results that I want from. If I can just building more on the anxiety. So I create myself every day. Sometimes it takes more than an hour, but I never miss that. And that's one of the most fundamental lessons I can teach the group, is spend time creating yourself as the person you want to show up in your business every day. And the market will respond. Your team will respond. That's how we lead. Our leadership is not what we do, it's who we be. And people feel that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Let me add also certain practices which I have personally done, and I think it has benefited me.
Brilliant.
So first thing, no mobile phone in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
When you get up, I look at my mobile only after 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And don't look at your mobile before going to bed, at least for 1 hour, because that's what goes in your subconscious mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? So don't do something which you love doing. I was coaching somebody and he had a problem with sleep. And I said, what do you love doing? What is your passion? He said, I love listening to Hindi songs.
Mm-hmm.
And his favorite was Kishore Kumar. I said, why do not you listen 5 songs of Kishore Kumar every day before going to bed? I just suggested, and believe me, it worked like magic. Because he was continuously on it. And today we get a lot of negative news. So I stay away from WhatsApp. I have not watched news. Last, I think hardly any news I have watched. I get 3 newspapers, I don't read them. I think we have to stay away from negativity. That is very much in our control.
Good
Because
point.
it impacts us, right? When you read all these negative news, you start thinking about it.
Absolutely. That's what we're feeding into our subconscious. So of course that's what we believe. Whereas if you realize that you can tell yourself anything, and if the brain starts to believe that, then it starts, because what they've discovered through neuroscience, it's not our environment which determines our thoughts, it's our thoughts which determine our environment. Right. So it's really important that you choose the thoughts that you're having. People, I know this sounds a bit crazy, but you know, thoughts are a choice. It's just a habit. I like to think of thoughts, for example, a bit like being in a railway station, and a thought comes into the train station. So the thought is the train. It comes into the station, and I can choose to get on that train or not. And sometimes I get onto a thought train which is going to somewhere I don't want to go. And suddenly I realize, oh no, I know where this thought goes. It goes to anxiety and stress and you know, not feeling very good. So I think I'm going to get off. So I get off and I get on a different train, and maybe that train's going to happiness and joy and relaxation.
Yeah.
But I think the secret to that is recognizing that our beliefs are just beliefs. They are not the truth. They're just a version, just a perspective, a perception.
Yeah.
So we choose the trains at the end, and people who have practiced meditation will know what this is like. You observe the thoughts. You don't have to believe them or build a story around them. You just go, oh, look, there's another thought. Oh, that train, I know where that one goes. I'm not getting on that one. Well, that one goes, this train goes to somewhere I do like. I'm going to get on this one. And our emotions are a really good indication of what thoughts we're believing, because when we're feeling anxious, it probably means we're believing or following, we're on a negative thought train. And if we're feeling good, it normally means we're on a good thought train. And if I'm on a bad thought train, I reach for a better thought. So, you know, you mentioned my daughter, India.
Yeah.
So I think about her, you know, regularly, and particularly when she was young, she was just a sort of bundle of golden light and energy. If I think about her and imagine her, it makes me feel better.
Yes. Yes.
And if I'm feeling good, I can't be feeling bad at the same. You can't have a bad and a good thought at the same time. So I choose. And I always think of her. I've got some beautiful photographs. I'm just going to grab one. So this is the beautiful India.
Oh, India. That's India.
Not now. This is probably the time that you and I met. But
yes.
you know, having photographs of the things that I love around me and I can connect with them are just ways of telling myself. Remember, we talked about the things we can control. Focus and thoughts are things that we can control.
What you said is very right. In fact, you can't think good and bad at the same time. In fact, I heard a metaphor where there is a bottle and you try to fill up that bottle. So your mind is like a bottle. Now, if you fill up with all positive things, where is the space for negative thing?
Yeah.
So what you say is absolutely very powerful. Thank you very much, Simon. It's 7:45. So let me go to my next question. You know, anyone who is going through anxiety, not continuously, but on and off. It's not that you always have anxiety, but some days are really bad where you become very fearful or come under stress. How, as an entrepreneur, we should bounce back with confidence? Although there is so much of uncertainty, one doesn't know what is going to happen, when things are going to normalize. You know, there is a saying, when going gets tough, tough gets going. So what is your advice, Simon? Because I'm sure I'm also going through that phase, and I'm sure many of the participants who are here right now would have faced this. On and off, we would have faced this, although may not be continuous. What is your advice to all of us?
Well, when you say that when the going gets tough, the tough get going, I understand exactly what that means. But that's only one approach, isn't it? That's responding to adversity through the same level of energy It's almost like meeting the adversity at a level of adversity. I get that. I understand that. That's one really good approach. But it may be when the going gets tough, then relax, take a step back, think, ask yourself some questions. What would be the best potential outcome here? You know, what do I want? What's my vision here? What am I trying to achieve? Why is this important to me? What are some of the things that are working for me? What are some of the things that are not working? So I would rather not just get into action, get going. I would go, okay, I'm feeling stressful. This obviously means I'm doing something which isn't working for me very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my technique. I'm going to go through my practice, my habituation of changing the way I think and feel. And from that place, maybe I will think of a different approach, a different way of dealing with this product.
Hit pause button, you're saying. Hit pause button. Hit pause button and reflect. Where are you in the moment? Yes.
Yeah. So be. You know, we often talk about not working in the business, but working on the business. And I think that when we're stressed and we're overworked and we're worried, what we tend to do is just believe that if we work more, we'll eventually find the solution. And I say, no, get out of the problem and get into a vision. Think about what it is you would like to be doing. Think about what that might look like. What would be the ideal outcome? Because at least then you're now shifting your thinking from the thinking that created the problem into a different level of thinking. And I think it was Einstein, you'll know this quote, that if we tried to solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created the problem, then we don't get anywhere. So this is get out of the problem and move up to a high level of consciousness or a high level of awareness, or maybe create a vision and look at the problem differently. Don't just keep being in the stress and hoping that by being stressed, some magic's going to happen, which is going to remove that stress. Because to me, you have to take that's something that you can control, where you put your focus, your thoughts, your decisions and your actions are things that we can control. So if they're the things we can control, that's what we should be putting most of our attention onto, is controlling the things that we have to control.
Right. Lovely. And what we focus expands, right?
Yes.
What we focus on positive thing, it expands.
Absolutely. You know, you're so right. But, you know, we throw these quotes, we say Einstein said this and so said this. And people will hear them and they'll go, yeah, I've heard that. I understand that. The difference is, and we've talked about this, is if you're able to habituate. So it's not just knowing and understanding and, oh yeah, I've heard that. I recognize those words. It's I'm actually applying those words. And that's the thing that will make the biggest difference. You familiar with the film The Secret, I'm sure. Have you watched The Secret, Atul? Yeah. So I watched it maybe 10 years ago. And I watched it and I understood it and thought, fantastic. Now I'm just going to go out and manifest gold palaces and, you know, Rolls Royces, and my life's just going to be fantastic. And it didn't happen. And I hadn't watched that film. And my wife and I watched it just recently. And the thing that I didn't hear the first time I watched The Secret is, I think it's Michael Beckwith says, the people who know how to work with the universe are the people who have habituated this way of thinking.
Yeah.
So it's not just knowing, oh, yes, I've read that, I've understood that, I've heard that. It's applying it. So when I say to you, consciousness expands, that's not just a nice phrase. It's believe that consciousness expands and habituate that as a way of thinking. And that's, you know, that's so important.
Practice makes progress, right?
Practice makes perfect. So you've just used another phrase. It's beautiful. I understand that. I've heard it. But I live that. I live practice makes perfect because it makes perfect.
Yeah.
And I want to live a perfect life, not a stressful life. So I do the things that I understand work, make the biggest difference.
Keeping in mind our time schedule, let me come to my last question, Simon.
Of course. I'm enjoying this immensely, Atul. Thank you for your great questions.
So as a concluding question, I would like to ask you, what are the 2 or 3 powerful actions that you recommend to reduce anxiety or manage it better, you know, for us as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I would say the things that we'll talk about, so it may sound like a little bit of a recap. First of all is look at your environment. So the environmental factors, making sure that you're getting enough sleep, nutrition, exercise, spending time in nature, taking time to relax. So I absolutely recommend those. Then recognize that we create our reality through the things that we choose to believe. So the thoughts and beliefs that we create. And so you need to practice getting good, or you don't need to. My advice would be get good at choosing the thoughts that you believe and the thoughts that you create. And for me, the bridge between the physical, the environmental, and the internal is the practice.
Yep.
And that's what I mentioned earlier before. So taking time each day to meditate, taking time each day to do affirmations, do a journal, gratitude. Gratitude, if you just spent 10 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day writing a journal about all the things that you're grateful for, your life would change. So I'm not selling the concept. I'm telling you, here's my gratitude journal. You know, I've got volumes of this, and I do this every single day. I sit there and just write until I feel gratitude, until I feel, wow, the world's an amazing place. Look at all these incredible things I've got to be grateful for.
And you do that in the morning, early morning?
I do that in the early morning. I maybe do it at night, but I make sure I do it every single day. It's good if you do it in the morning, but it's great if you do it at night. If you just think about what are some of the things that I'm grateful for today. And what works for me is if I actually sit down and write it, because if I just think about it, sometimes I get distracted. Whereas if I write it, I start to really feel, and my mood changes. So then, you know, this is about the practice, making sure that you're doing visualization, you're taking time to breathe each day, but habituate this. Spend time visualizing how you want the day to go. Spend time creating that energetic and emotional state that you want to experience during the day. And those are the things that I would really recommend. Think about your environment, think about the thoughts that you're creating your reality from, and then thinking what's the habitual practices that you use each day to make sure that you create yourself as the creator of your own experience.
Lovely. These are really great input, Simon. And it looks very, very logical. And I think that is the only thing what we can do today. We can't change the situation. We can't make economy better. But what is in our hands is maybe control ourselves, our thinking, our behavior.
Yeah.
And that is going to help us.
Yeah.
Right? That's in a nutshell you're saying.
Yes, absolutely. There's a wonderful book called Man's Search for Meaning by a writer called Viktor Frankl.
Man's Search in?
Sorry?
Man's
Search for Meaning.
Okay, Man's Search for Meaning. Okay.
That's
okay.
right. And the author was Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl was in a concentration camp during the Second World War in Germany. I think he was in Auschwitz. And everybody around him was dying, was being killed, it was being treated terribly. And he was able, he believes, to choose his thoughts. He gave himself a purpose every day. And he says that that's the reason he was able to survive 4 or 5 years in a concentration camp. So if somebody says to me, well, look, Simon, you don't understand. In India, it's really difficult now. The economy is really difficult. I said, I don't want to diminish that, but your choice and how you respond to that is what's going to create the outcomes, not the environment. And if a man can survive a concentration camp, then that tells me the power, that's right, Viktor Frankl, that tells me the power of the human mind. And that's where I go. I think about the power of my thoughts, where I put my focus and my attention, the thoughts I allow myself to have, what I believe about myself. So if I can't do this and I can't do that, then I'm just creating a reality in which I can't do it. So I tell myself, I'm really good at this. I'm very good at leading my team. You can't choose what the brain does to the words you use. You can't change. Your brain will always believe whatever you tell it.
Right.
So tell it things you want it to believe. Control the things you say to yourself. And it may sound mad, just telling yourself you're good at something when you don't necessarily feel it. Well, it's much better than telling yourself you're good at it than telling yourself you're not, and getting on the train to not being very good at this town.
Lovely.
Choose
So
the train you want to feel.
Almost an hour, we are just approaching 8.
I'm just getting warmed up, that's all.
Let's throw open program for open answer and question for another 10 minutes.
Sure.
Can I request all of you to put your question in the chat box, please? And we'll pick up some questions. which probably Simon can handle in the next 10 minutes or so.
Well, let's see if we can get through a few. Yes.
Yep.
So any questions?
So let me just say, people have an opportunity here to ask a question. That's something that you can control. So this is a choice, and this is what we're talking about. So if you want, so now you have an opportunity to make a difference to the future of your life by asking a question which might give you an insight that changes the results that you have. So how do we know what phase we are? Doctor asks us do we have anxiety, depression? What should we answer? Again, I'm not medically trained, but how my experience of that was, I would leave that to a doctor. If the doctor's asking you if you have anxiety or depression, I think the doctor's not doing their job. The doctor should be the one who's diagnosing. But if you're not feeling good and you're not feeling good for a long period of time and you don't know how to shift it, go and see a doctor and the doctor will diagnose. You don't need to tell the doctor what you have. Just say, I feel awful, my thoughts are very negative, I've been feeling like this for a long time, and the doctor will go through a process which he can identify, or he or she can identify. That's what I would say.
Okay.
They're going too quickly for me, Atul. I can't, maybe you could...
I'll go through it. If there is something, I'll just tell you.
Yeah, Simon, I just reposted the question which went upward. So it's the same question I'm repeating. Is there something like group anxiety, or is it just an individual aspect? Also need to, yeah. So talking is not allowed because it's just going to override the time. I'm really sorry.
Okay, so is there such thing as group anxiety? I think it's called the news media. Well, you know, we're joking, but the news is only a window. It's only a selected choice of the information that is being fed to us. There is so much more that is happening outside of the window of what you hear in the news media. And what the news media does is it makes everybody have the same thoughts, which are fear-based thoughts. We worry about things. We don't know what's going to happen. Well, to me, if that's the information I'm feeding into my brain, then everybody is going to be feeling the same thing. If you don't turn on the news media, it doesn't change what's happening out there, but it means that I can choose different thoughts. And where we put our attention grows. So I would say, yes, there probably is group anxiety, and it's caused by a lot of the conversations we have with people. So I don't talk to people about all the problems we're having. I want to talk to people about solutions and what it is that we can do, and have meetings like this where we can talk about solutions and be positive, and we can think about what practical steps can we take, and what are some of the things that we can do in terms of the way we see the world or the way that we think. That's what I would be. I'd be spending time with people who can think more strategically and think more creatively.
Yep. So the next question is, can it be used to decide actions, or we go in locked condition? So it's a question from one of our members.
Question is actually not clear to me as well.
That's what I'm also thinking. So it's okay. Just
Rajesh Mandlik has asked this. Can you please rephrase this question if you don't mind?
So while you're doing that, I'm noticing that from another Atul, that it says, how do you identify when anxiety attacks? I heard about, how do you know what stage of anxiety you're in? How do you know if you have anxiety or if you're having depression? These are really interesting questions, because we're asking questions about what anxiety is. So we're trying to understand the problem. And I understand why that can be reassuring, but again, I'm not somebody who can medically diagnose. But my suggestion was, if you're not feeling how you want to feel, and it feels like that for a prolonged period of time, whatever it's called doesn't really matter, but do something about changing it, is what I would say. You know, so find a way of changing the experience that you're having.
Correct.
It doesn't, you don't have to know what it's called to know that you want to change it. And I'm saying if you are experiencing anxiety or depression, or go and see a medical professional, I really, really recommend it. I certainly did that and it really helped me. But I'm saying if I'm feeling stressed and I'm feeling anxious about things in my work, rather than trying to worry about what it's called and what the symptoms are, I would be looking at ways that I could possibly address that.
Yeah. So the next question is, when putting down thoughts, what if one gets negative thoughts? Should one pen down those as well?
That's a really great question. And again, I think that when we start to try and suppress our thoughts and feelings, they're going to come up at some point. So I have a really beautiful practice that I use when I get negative thoughts. And I learned this practice from somebody called Tara Brach. And she's somebody who specializes in mindfulness and meditation. And she talks us through different stages of how to deal with persistent negative thinking. And the acronym that she uses spells the word RAIN, R-A-I-N. And RAIN stands for, first of all, recognizing that you're having a negative thought. So you realize that you're not your thought, you're just experiencing a negative thought. Then you acknowledge or allow. So the A of RAIN is allow. You say, okay, I'm having this thought. I'm just going to accept that it's here. Then the I stands for investigate. There we go, RAIN, it's there. Then the I stands for investigate, and that's investigating the internal experience, not necessarily the reasons, but how am I feeling? Where do I feel that? Is it here? Did I feel it here? What kind of energy do I experience when I have this thought? And then the N stands for non-attachment. And this is what we were talking about not getting on the train of that thought. And this is what we practice through meditation, isn't it? We notice our thoughts, but we don't believe them or get into the story of them. And it's a beautiful, and you can find guided meditations using RAIN that Tara Brach will talk you through. And it's just beautiful. One of the things that I personally use for the N is nourish. So what I look at, if there's a part of me which is feeling really scared and really threatened, then I have, I recognize a part of me which feels fear, and I go and find that part of me which is feeling fear and ask it what it needs. Do you need more love? Do you need more compassion? Do you need a rub? Sometimes we just need to physically give ourselves this is what we do. When someone's not feeling very well, what do? We rub their shoulders. Well, rub your own shoulders. So I ask myself, or ask this part of me, what do you need right now? What do you need? Can I give it to you? Do you need more love? Do you need more acceptance? And I wait until the feeling dissipates. So rather than just going, I'm not thinking that, I'm not thinking that, and that starts to give it more energy, I look at ways of changing my relationship with those negative thoughts so I can just allow them and release them.
Okay.
So I can't, someone's written quite a long thing there. I can't read about come back Simon or go back Simon. Is that something?
Come back Simon. All Indians are well aware about go back Simon. That was the slogan in 1942, I think.
Yeah,
okay.
Simon, go back.
42, is it not?
And
Yeah.
go back where?
Go back to England.
Okay, well, I haven't left England, so we're okay.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of Zoom. 1905, okay.
This is the best compliment you got from Anand Kolakar, and he says, "Come back, Simon." Lovely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Are there any other questions that you'd like some?
I think we are done with the questions now.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Simon, once again from my heart. Lovely interacting with you. In fact, although interviewing, I was also listening to you, and I did not even recollect that, we have already spent 65 minutes already interacting with you, and so much valuable insights.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
No, you're absolutely welcome.
I saw some comments where some are requesting that we should have more such sessions with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Maybe maybe we can put something together. We can start a program?
Kind of a mastermind group where it's not just open discussion, it can be a focused discussion that can go along.
In fact,
Well, I'm open to finding ways of supporting you. You know, if I can add some value and if I can help people to create better results,
there
even
could
when.
be an idea of maybe a group coaching,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
On specific topic, because this is very relevant topic right now for all of us. Right? Back from India to India.
I think we've got a little bit of a theme going here.
Yeah. Okay, good. So we'll end our session with Vande Mataram as usual, and then we'll call it a day today. Yes, thanks Atul for amazing questions and making this an interactive stuff. And of course, Simon, we really learned a lot of things. When I was actually typing down, to be very frank, I just take pen and paper with me and write it down. But I made sure that everyone understands when you're talking. So
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so I just made a note of it. But it was really an amazing session from Laghu Udyog Bharti side. Everyone is really thankful to you for spending a lot of time with the team. And we will sure love to meet you again.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it. I love this kind of thing. I love to help entrepreneurs, first of all, enjoy their jobs, you know, enjoy the businesses they've created for themselves, and obviously create better results. That's really my aim, is to have people creating life on their own terms, creating success and an extraordinary life on their own terms.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so guys, in 15 seconds we'll stand up again for Vande Mataram, and then we will call it a day today. And then the room will be open for regular chit chat. I will just unmute everyone so you can feel at home and pull somebody else's legs. Not a problem. Yeah. Okay. Guys, be at your place, and we are starting. Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Suphalam Malayaj Sheetalam Sasya Shamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Shubhra Josnat Pulakitayamini Pulakusumita Drumadala Shobhini Suhasinim Sumadhura Bhashini Sukhadam Varadam Mataram, Vande Mataram. Koti koti kantha kala kala ninada karale, koti koti bhujai dhruta khar karavale. Abala keno ma eto bole bahubal dharini namami tarini Ripudalavarini Mataram, Vande Mataram. Tumi Vidya, Tumi Dharma, Tumi Rudir, Tumi Marma, Tvam hi prana sharire, बाहुते तुम्ही मा शक्ती, हृदये तुम्ही मा भक्ती, तो मारई प्रतिमा गढ़ी मंदिरे, मंदिरे मंदिरे, वंदे मातरम। त्वं हि दुर्गा दश प्रहरण धारिणी, कमलां कमलदल विहारिणी, वाणी विद्या दायिनी, नमामि त्वां, नमामि कमला ममलामतुला, सुजला सुफला मातरम, वंदे मातरम। श्यामलां सरलां सुस्मितां भूषितां, धरणीं भरणीं मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम। भारत माता की जय. Okay, yep, I'm just unmuting everyone. So Simon, you are most welcome to stay, but it's your choice.
Thank you. I love that.
Nachiket.
Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. I think
You muted Simon also.
Wait. No, I have to mute first everyone so that I can unmute everyone. Yeah, now everyone can unmute themselves. I'm really sorry.
Nachiket, start my video. People can't see my face.
Is it?
You can start on your own.
No, it's not. It's not. He has put me off.
No, I put it off because it was not going on. So I'm just going to stop. No, I stopped because on Facebook Live, I really wanted only Atul and Simon to be on page.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Simon, it was a very good session and we enjoyed it a lot. There were a lot of insights what we got, and I think it will be very helpful for all who watches this, either on Zoom meeting or on even Facebook Live. So I believe we will have a lot of following on Facebook Live also.
Wonderful, man.
So it was a very good session. Thanks a lot for that.
No, you're
and
really
Atul Dada, thanks a lot for you also for getting Simon here for all of us.
It's always
was a very nice.
Simon here.
Yeah, it was great.
Absolutely a perfect time for this complete program. So very relevant time now, and everybody is fearing in going down in anxiety. So it's a real time they get refreshment of it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, Uday Kankaria is asking whether the recording would be available for us. Yes, of course, it will be available for all. Nachiket would post it on Facebook as well as we can circulate also.
Yeah, it's already there.
Okay, Nachiket, I have a question. We had a lot of registrations. So is it that some people were on Facebook Live?
There were at least 30 people on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we sent an email through that MailChimp. It went into a promotion folder. So if you are having a Gmail address, it just goes into a promotion folder and then people will just don't look at it. So those who registered, they didn't got an email in their mailbox. I still tried to get into their mailbox through personal emails, but sometime it doesn't happen. So that's what happened.
No
So,
problem.
you know, it's all about not getting anxious because Simon said it's not in your control.
and normally we have observed that about 40-45% people turn up, those who register, because this is free. If we have some payment fees, then more number of people come after they register. So that's a general observation with us.
Next session we should have some fees then.
Yeah, we will.
We will try. Yeah, we will.
Yes.
We will
Yes.
do that.
Yes. I liked 50 million rupees. I thought that sounded good.
So I think
Yeah.
that part. So Simon, I was the one who wrote Comeback Simon, but I was
Yes, I
not a
know.
member in India. So maybe I missed that part of the introduction. Could you tell us where are you in India? The city and
No,
all?
Asian.
I'm in London, the UK.
Oh, you are there. Okay.
Yes.
So when I said come back, you said no, I'm very much here. So I thought.
But this is the beauty of Zoom. It's one of the great opportunities that have come out of this pandemic. I wouldn't be having this conversation with you if it wasn't for the pandemic.
Yep.
Absolutely.
We would be meeting face to face, and we wouldn't have had the opportunity to have this interaction. So, always looking for positive outcomes is again part of my practice.
So when have you visited? In the past, you have visited India, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Anand, Anand, I think you had missed his introduction.
Yes,
so,
you missed
Simon was here 2 or 3 or 4 times in India. He has been to Atul's place, and his daughter's name is India.
Oh, that part I.
Yeah, so you missed that. You missed that.
Yeah.
But I won't blame you, Anand, because you are here in a meeting after a long time. So though you are late, that's all right.
Oh yeah.
Better late than never. Okay?
I'm so happy, and I know things are not in control. That is all I remember from Simon's lecture.
So this is the leg pulling, right? This is when
Yeah,
the leg
this is
pulling.
the leg pulling.
That's good.
And another good part is,
Mandar is good at that. He can take entire session on that.
On how to pull legs.
Yeah.
Anand, that's what we play kabaddi, right?
Oh yeah.
You remember that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Atul, you were saying something.
No, I was just saying that both of us met in 3 different countries: India, UK, and South Africa. Because that's the coincidence, sheer coincidence, right, Simon? That we work for or represented same company in respective countries from South Africa.
So I came to Pune and we were doing some work with Barclays. That's what I remember. At their digital center. That's the work that I was doing. Yeah, we were doing coaching skills within the Barclays technology center.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
So has anybody got any questions or anything, or any observations, or is there one takeaway that you got particularly from what I said, just so I can pull your leg about it?
Now, somebody wanted to speak for a while, right? Somebody had put on the chat box that I want to speak for.
I did write about this lecture, and I also mentioned about Comeback Simon. And so talking about Simon, since school days we have learned about Go Back Simon, and now the context of that Go Back Simon was in, and I checked it on net. It was in 1920. Britishers sent a commission, and they wanted to tell us few things about how to administer the country and all that. But because of the self-respect and certain other movements, we said no, we don't want to hear anything from Britishers, and we suggested that you please go back. And on that context, on a lighter note, I remembered the same occasion, but I really felt that Come Back Simon now is the time we need Simon. To
Okay.
sell.
Okay.
Right. So it just kind of
If you-
recollected. Simon for all Indians is go back, but now it is come back. So,
That's good to know. That's good to know. So if you buy me a plane ticket, I'll come back.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Let the flight start yet. They have not
Yes.
started yet.
People who are still there are making profit, so they will send you flight ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should coach one of the airlines now.
Yes, I should. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you would get free tickets and we would get free advice.
That's
Right,
right.
Anand?
Yeah. It's a win-win.
Yeah. So we are here to make some business. We should find out such avenues as well to get him here now.
Great.
Mm.
So
So guys, what I think I'm going to do now is to drop out and thank you
Yeah.
all very much.
thank
And
you. Thanks a lot.
Then you
Thanks a
can
lot.
then you can talk about me when I've gone. So I'll leave you to do that.
No, it's not so. Even everybody is leaving. I
think
think
Anand's got some-
you are staying, so everybody else is staying. Once you are out, everybody's
Okay.
going to
That's
scoot
right.
out.
That's because the Indian people are always so hospitable, you see.
Yeah.
So as the guest, I have to say, thank you very much. I'm going to leave so that you can all go home. So
Yeah.
Before we become hostile.
wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. It's
Bye,
been
Simon.
such a pleasure
Thanks.
meeting
Thanks.
you.
Thanks. Thank you.
We'll
Thanks a
speak
lot.
again soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.